everybody, and welcome back to the channel here at Paradise on Pennies. I'm Heather, and today I want to talk to you guys about food. I get this question quite a bit, something like, what do you guys eat on the road? And sometimes I want to answer and say, food. But it is a little different in our circumstance, because if you guys have been following our channel, you know that we do live on the road full time, and we are primarily off-grid all the time. We don't have refrigeration, electricity, things like that. And it makes the whole food game a little trickier. So this video, I hope, will be helpful for anyone that is considering living on the road and is thinking about what kinds of foods they'll take, especially if you're going to spend most of your time off-grid. And it also will be helpful for other people just getting food ideas if you're going on a long trip, or if you are living off-grid or whatever. If you're not going to have constant refrigeration, what can you eat that's still good? So this is going to be based off primarily what we do. And I'll start with one of the simplest things. The simplest things is dried foods. And you can actually get dried foods in bulk. There's lots of different kinds. There's fruits and vegetables and soup mixes and stuff like that. They don't all have the best ingredients. I mean, they vary. The dried fruits are pretty straightforward. But it is a good go-to, especially if you're going to be out and about. It's kind of a good backup plan too for safety, just so you always have some food to resort to. So this is a really nice one. This is a vegetable mix, and this is good just to throw in just about anything. And this is a soup mix that also works really well if you need a soup base. So another go-to would be oatmeal, and this is a big container of oats here that I have. As you can see, oats are a great go-to, good filling and nutrition. And then I have these containers. I mean, if you get some good containers, you can fill all your dried stuff into it, and you can buy in bulk. Really great idea and more cost-effective as well. Dried nuts, definitely a big go-to for us. You could get stuff like coconut, dried coconut, if you like it. I do. Ramsey doesn't. Just some ideas there. And also, there are prepackaged meals and foods that you can get. Some of them, just watch. They can get kind of high in sodium, so you have to be a little picky. It may or may not be worth it to spend a little more. This one's actually not that bad. This is a Walmart brand, and it's just a mix of stuff like peas, corn, mango, black bean, quinoa. These are really nice to have on hand. The ingredients list actually not that long. I was kind of surprised. So this isn't a bad option. So going on down the line on that same note, obviously granola bars, that's kind of an easy low-hanging fruit I think here. And bulk granola, we do more bulk granola. Here's just a bag I was munching on, but we have a bunch underneath. Bulk granola is the go-to. Granola bars get a little more costly, but they're very nice for backpacking. And there are other options like fig bars and stuff like that that may be a little healthier for you. One of my biggest go-tos is rice. We always have tons of rice on hand. We can just make so many different meals with it. I make stir fry. We make kind of a poor man's sushi. That's a little more reserved for in town because we do have to get something like a yogurt. But it's a really good inexpensive meal, and we just already have the rice. We typically just did a big thing of rice. Recently, we found rice and quinoa as well. So lots of options out there. Again, also a not too costly food alternative and a good dried food to have on hand. Pastas, again, probably a low-hanging fruit, good thing to have on hand. We don't actually go through a ton of pasta. And in addition to that, aside from the dried bulk stuff, there's always cans. Again, it's not my number one go-to. If I don't have to eat canned food, I'd prefer not to. Let me get this. There we go. There's the lighting. Something we always have on hand is tuna. Tuna gives us some nutrition, and it's a good go-to food, and it won't go bad, so we can keep it for a while. says that goes for canned chicken as well, except the canned chicken, a lot of it has really high sodium too. So you might want to watch out for that, again, with canned food, the sodium. But it is a good go-to to have on hand. Tomato paste and tomato sauce, really good thing to have on hand. You can make spaghetti with, say, your pasta, and you can make a lot of other things with it. Sometimes we do little pizzas with just on like bread or tortilla shells. So we always have a lot of these around. And actually, Safeway is doing their Monopoly game right now, and it seems like that's one of the things that we always won with the Monopoly tickets. So that was really nice because we were going to buy it anyway. But regardless, these are really inexpensive to get, so you can get a lot of those. We do keep beans on hand. It's good to mix in a burrito. Always a good quick meal as well, and even some canned fruits. This is applesauce, and it doesn't have anything added. It's just unsweetened applesauce. Again, just a good go-to to have on hand when you can't have fresh food. So just a few other mentionables. When it comes to bread only lasts so long. So we do loaves of bread sometimes, and that's great. If you're talking really fresh bread, you're going to be SOL because fresh bread will go bad and mold rather quickly. A great alternative has been tortilla shells. They seem to last longer. They probably last longer because they have more preservatives in them, but they do last, and it makes for a nice wrap, with eggs or beans or whatever we have on hand. This has been nice to have, and we keep these for a lot longer. And then if you're looking just to mix things up, these packets, you can find these in like the seasoning aisles and stuff. So you can get gravy and pesto and all kinds of stuff like that. Again, may or may not have the best ingredients. You'll have to look and decide what you want to spend. But they do provide a nice way to just give you something different. Sometimes with eggs and stuff, it's nice to have a little country gravy for us. Just to keep things exciting with the food. You can definitely have tea. That's pretty obvious. And it makes for a nice hot drink on those cold mornings. So I do a lot of tea, or you could do hot cocoa or something like that. So yeah, so that's kind of your go-to dried foods and canned foods. But the real question that remains is, and this was my thing that I had to figure out, was how do I have more fresh foods for nutrition and, just tasting good? So one tip I'll give you is getting into foraging. That has been really great for me so far. I'm learning every day new foods that I can forage, and I am sharing that on the channel too. So every time I have an experience with foraging, I'll be sharing it, and you guys can learn along with me. And that's free, nutritious food. But you do want to have some fresh food on hand, right? I know I did. So here's the things that I've found that are particularly helpful and last for a while. Potatoes are a go-to. You can keep these babies for a while. And that's a lot of food. My egg's rolling away. Yeah, so you can have potatoes. We usually get a lot of potatoes and keep them on hand. You can cut them up with eggs. You can make French fries. You could just, mash potatoes, whatever. It's a really good meal to have on hand. Another thing that lasts really a decently long time are carrots. And there's your nutrition right there, right? You might be a person that can just straight up eat a carrot. A lot of people aren't. The flavor is very strong, but I can tell you it provides you a lot of good nutrition, and carrots are relatively cheap for what you're getting. And if you're dicing them up and frying them in just about anything, so you can thicken up meals like eggs with a bunch of carrots, or stir fry with carrots, and go on down the list. I put carrots in nearly everything, including my pasta and my zucchini pasta and things like that. So there you go. Easy, cheap nutrition that you can have when you're really weeks out off grid. Just a mentionable, I'm a garlic fanatic, so I'll have a lot of garlic on hand. You may or may not like it, but it does last a good while, and you can have fresh garlic. And when we make things like pizzas or pasta, well, almost everything I put garlic in, so that's a good go-to, though. And citrus isn't bad. You can have oranges for a while because, they have their skin on them. The fruit inside will last longer than, say, other fruits. So lemons to flavor up pasta, or even if you like it in your water or whatever. Lemons, limes, oranges, grapefruits, things like that last pretty long. Now, those are really good ideas for fresh stuff. Another thing that we like to have on hand are eggs. And this one's a tricky one, and a lot of people ask us about eggs. Now, I will give a recommendation that if you can get farm fresh eggs that aren't washed, you're going to have a higher likelihood of not having issues with them. We don't always get those. We would love to, but, you know, sometimes we don't have access to those. Therefore, we do get eggs at the store, and they still do last a while, and we have never had a problem so far. We keep them out of the sun, of course, and that's kind of a side on this. All of this food, even if you start off with fresh stuff and you're trying to get it to last for a while, you might not, we don't have refrigeration, and if you don't, that's fine too. So just keep it out of the sun, and you can still put it in a cooler. You could put ice in it if you wanted to, but it's going to melt eventually if you're off grid. But you can just, keep it in the cooler and keep it all together, and it lasts for a while. You'd be surprised. When you get to camp, take that cooler with all the food and stick it, let's say, under the canopy in the forest or something like that, and it will stay relatively cool. You could also try things like putting it in a bag that is waterproof, and you could dip it in a cold river if you're by a river when you're camping. So there are other ways to keep your stuff cool off grid. But I hope these give you some really good ideas. For those of you asking, what do we eat and how do we do it if we're off grid? Here's kind of how we do it, especially when we're out there for a while. In addition to that, foraging. Now, some mentionables for things that you are going to have to probably forego if you're doing this. One thing is spinach and greens. Unfortunately, it makes me really sad. I love putting it in various foods, and I want my greens more often, but it does not last. Spinach goes bad after like 2 days. So that's a big bummer for me. But on the good side, I have learned to forage more greens. So it's been a little harder in the desert, but as we move back up to the Pacific Northwest, there are a lot of greens to be eaten and foraged. So I won't have a problem getting greens. And if you are buying something and you want it to last a little longer than, say, spinach would, I did find that romaine lettuce, hopefully not the romaine lettuce that's in the news, but romaine lettuce does last longer. Fruits like strawberries or things that don't have a coating, they go bad. Blueberries, they go bad within like a couple days. And that also makes me sad because I love those. But in terms of other fruits, apples do last a good while. So you could have a bunch of apples on hand, and then you can have some fresh fruit. Bananas do okay as well. So you could have bananas, apples, oranges. So you can still have some fruit. You don't have to give up fruit altogether. And then, just learn to forage berries, and then you can have berries as well. And then you don't have to worry about those blueberries going bad from the store. So also things like red peppers, they go bad quickly. Tomatoes, they go bad quickly. These are all things, again, that you'll have to forego when you are living off grid. So you'll want to try to find replacement meals. I have, like I mentioned, I have been doing a bit more zucchini. Zucchini does last for a decent while, as well as cucumbers. They don't last forever, obviously, but you'll get, you could probably get a week out of them. You're going, in a lot of cases, you're going to be peeling off the skin anyway, so even if it gets a little mold on it, you just peel it off and you're good to go. So you can do zucchini, and it's a great pasta substitute as well for nutrition. So great alternative there. Another bummer is cheese. Cheese will, again, last maybe like 4 days or so, give or take, depending on the kind. But it does go bad pretty quickly as well. Now, one alternative you could consider is dried or powdered cheese. There is some of that out there. So if you do need cheese for some meals, you could try that. And I hope that helps you understand how we do it. How do we live on the road off grid most of the time? This is how. And we do get to have fresh food as well. So it's not all that bad. But yeah, if you're hitting the road soon, here's some ideas. If you guys have any other ideas, feel free to leave them in the comments and let me know. I always love getting new ideas for food. And yeah, I hope this helped you guys out. Thanks for being here, and stay tuned. We'll have a lot more videos coming down the line on the channel. Thanks, everybody. Bye.